Game on, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to the Box Score Media Podcast. I'm your host, Jake Keaton. It is Monday, January 27th, 2020. A solemn day for the sports world, as everybody knows. Yesterday, around 9 o'clock Pacific time, we found out that we had lost Kobe Bryant, one of the great NBA players of all time. 5-time NBA champion, multiple-time MVP. Laker great. He was third all-time in scoring. Now fourth all-time, surpassed by LeBron James. Him and his daughter, as everybody heard, was killed in a helicopter crash on their way to Staples Center for a travel basketball game. First of all, let me get out my personal comments about this. I don't understand why anybody who flies on a private jet or a private helicopter would fly without a parachute. And I understand that, they say that at a certain speed you can't jump out of a plane, you'll end up dying as soon as you jump out. To me, I'm taking the chance. I'm not, especially in a helicopter where there's, with a plane, you at least have if an engine stalls out, you actually have the option. And we don't know exactly what happened, but if an engine stalls out in a plane, you have a chance with the wings. You have a chance to at least glide it. You're probably still going to crash, but it's not going to be like a nosedive. It's not going to be 20,000 knots or whatever. There's a chance. With a helicopter crash, as soon as you experience turbulence, you're done. And I don't care what any expert says. If I'm on a helicopter, and especially a private helicopter that I own, I'm having a parachute. And I'm taking the chance of jumping out. I don't care if I smash into a tree. I don't care if my neck snaps as soon as I get out of the door. As soon as the door opens, I'm doing whatever it takes rather than just sitting in the helicopter waiting for it to crash. Because eventually that thing is just going to become a bomb. So that's just my personal opinion of that. It was a tragedy. I don't think I've ever seen the sports world as a whole, especially basketball, being in such shock as they are right now because, again, he was just surpassed on Saturday by LeBron James as third all-time in scoring. He was 41 years old. Everything seemed fine. He wasn't making any bad news. He was enjoying life. Had 4 daughters, a wife. Everything was just going great. Then all of a sudden this happens. And it makes you think about yourself too because, as somebody who's pulling down less than $50,000 a year doing a podcast for free, it makes you think about your mortality and say, you know what, nobody's untouchable. And everybody's day is going to come. So my prayers go out to the Kobe Bryant family and all the families of the other victims. There were 9 total, including the pilot. Now, the effect I think this has on the NBA is going to be significant. I think you're going to see the best basketball, actually, that you're going to see all year because people are going to play inspired. There's going to be a lot of players that are going to play for Kobe, use his mentality of a flat-out killer, and I think we're going to see a lot of great basketball throughout the rest of the year. And in Vegas, I'm sure there's a lot of bets right now on the Lakers winning the championship if there wasn't already a ton, because there's no way that people are going to think that the Lakers themselves are going to play inspired and with a lot of confidence and a chip on their shoulder. So I wouldn't be surprised at all. I took the Clippers, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Lakers dominated the rest of the way. And LeBron and Anthony Davis and the rest and everybody on the Lakers team just plays inspired for number 24. So rest in peace, Kobe and his daughter, Gianna. All right, so let's get to some scores now. A lighter topic. College basketball over the weekend. Unfortunately, my Irish fell to Florida State. Questionable officiating. However, my rules on referees. Don't make it close. If you don't want the referees to dictate the game, beat them by 40 points, leave no doubt. when you make it close, especially on the road, you're susceptible to bad calls. So Mike Bray, keep your mouth shut. You're still a good coach. You're not getting the recruits you want, but keep your mouth shut. Quit bitching to the refs, because in the end it just doesn't matter. We saw number 14 West Virginia take on Missouri. There was a lot of Big 12 SEC challenge games. Auburn over Iowa State. Illinois defeats Michigan. Villanova over Providence. Louisville destroys Clemson. Rutgers in the top 25. That's surprising. They beat Nebraska. Kansas over Tennessee, 74-68. SMU upsets Memphis, 74-70. Number 7 Dayton Flyers. Go Flyers, 87-79 over Richmond. Probably looks like one of the best teams I've seen in a while. They could possibly be playing for a 2 seed. I don't see them getting a 1 seed, but a 2 seed is definitely reasonable. This was the great game, though. Kentucky, Texas Tech. Final in overtime. Texas Tech just fell short, but they had a hell of a comeback. They were down about 12 points with like 2-3 minutes left. Made a hell of a run, but fell short. Number 1 Baylor over Florida, 72-61. Colorado over Washington. Arizona State over Arizona. And Gonzaga over the Pacific by about 30 points. Those were Saturday's games. Sunday's games: Maryland over Indiana. Houston over South Florida. Michigan State over Minnesota. San Diego State defeats UNLV. And Oregon takes out UCLA 96-75. So, final thoughts on college basketball so far. Again, I said it on my last podcast. It's a top-heavy talent pool right now. North Carolina's best players out. Jordan Nora for Louisville and the guy from Memphis who decided to sit out were the top 3 players in the country, and only one of them's playing. My prediction right now is Louisville, because they have the best player playing right now. I love what I see from Baylor. Gonzaga is going to be there. UD, maybe they can make a run to the Elite Eight, Final Four, but they're still going to be a Cinderella no matter what their seeding is, because they're University of Dayton. But there's not a lot of parity. It's you got a couple of teams up front. I think there's definitely a talent gap. Maybe we could see some Cinderellas this year, but it seems to me whenever we think that we're going to see a bunch of Cinderellas, because the Dukes, the North Carolinas, the Kentuckys, the Kentuckys, Michigan States, they're not doing real well. And everybody believes that we're going to see a Cinderella when tournament time comes, but sometimes when you think that, the opposite happens, and you could have 4 number 1 seeds. But I'll take Louisville right now, best team in the country, and favorite to, probably not the best team in the country, but definitely favored to win it just because they got the best player. Okay, so NBA scores. Again, it was a hard Sunday to play. Most of the teams had a 24-second shot clock violation to start the game in honor of Kobe. I thought that was really nice. The Nuggets over the Rockets, 117-110. Raptors over the Spurs. Hawks over the Wizards, 152-133. Damn. Grizzlies over the Suns. Pelicans over the Celtics. Knicks defeat the Nets. Clippers over the Magic. And the Trailblazers defeat the Pacers. Again, said this in my last podcast, I have declared myself a Utah Jazz fan. Solid organization. They've always seemed to be winning without a superstar. Here's what I say, though. Trade Conley. Trade Clarkson for Trae Young, because Trae Young, I think, is a great player who's got a tremendous upside, who's on an 11-win Hawks team right now. I say you trade them and maybe a first-rounder for Trae Young. I don't think you even need to get a first-rounder for him, right? Like I said, he's on a 10-win team right now, 11-win team right now. He goes to Utah with point guard, with Donovan Mitchell, Gobert, and Trae Young. You've got a hell of an offense right there. And Gobert's no slouch on defense. So I'm sitting there, I'm saying that. That's my thought process there. Trade for Trae Young, get rid of their 2 point guards that are seasoned, a little too old. Get Trae Young, let him grow with Utah with Donovan Mitchell, and I think you have a hell of a team that can possibly be a 2 seed in the West. I'm not saying they're going to beat the Clippers or Lakers, but they're definitely going to be competitive. They won't get swept by them, I guarantee you that. So I'm just throwing that out there. All right, okay. Finally, UFC Fight Night results. Main event was Curtis Blades versus Junior Dos Santos. Dos Santos seems to be always fighting on fight nights, but he's always main eventing because he's very entertaining. He always delivers. Let's see. We had Herbert Burns with a KO to start it. That was a hell of a fight. Guy just had his roommate and one of his friend's daughters pass away in the last couple weeks. So that started off good. Sarah McMahon, unanimous decision victory on her first fight back after giving birth. So good win for her. Pretty much a lot of decisions. Angela Hill, she came into this fight 10-7. She never really looked good. She's always won by decision. Never really stood out, but for some reason was always on the main cards. But she finally delivered, defeated Hannah Cifers by KO in the second round. Co-main event, Michael Chiesa defeats RDA, Rafael Dos Anjos, by unanimous decision. This was a shocker to me. I thought RDA was a far more superior striker, and I know that Chiesa is a very good grappler, which is RDA struggles with. He struggles with good grapplers, and he proved it again that when it comes to the good grapplers, he just can't figure it out. Chiesa is fighting at welterweight right now, which is making him just a little bit better every single time. And this is a huge win for him. RDA is becoming one of those guys like an Edson Barbosa or Cub Swanson, where it's just, if you want to be in the title contention, you got to beat this guy. He's the stepping stone. And it's really not degrading, I don't think. He's just somebody that you need to pass. If you don't beat him, you're not going to beat a Jorge Masvidal, a Conor McGregor, a Nate Diaz, a Tyron Woodley, or Leon Edwards. You're not going to take those guys out. So you have to beat RDA. He won by unanimous decision. He looked great. His stand-up looked solid. I think he's going to be a threat. He's no longer cutting the weight, affecting the water to the brain. He's got a tougher chin now. He's going to be a threat. And with his grappling against a lot of those strikers, he could be, he's going to make some noise. We'll just see where he can go from here. But I was definitely impressed. And finally, Curtis Blades, KO victory over Junior Dos Santos with a 106 in the second round. Curtis Blades 13-2 record. Right now the heavyweight division is fluctuating because Stipe Miocic, the champion, he's not really up to fighting. I think he's looking to have another surgery on either his arm or his hand. So it's very possible that we could see an interim title fight between Curtis Blades and Daniel Cormier, or possibly Francis Ngannou. But Francis Ngannou has already defeated Curtis Blades, so I don't think that would happen. But we'll see what happens with UFC Fight Night in Columbus, which I will be going to because it's the first time in 11 years that the UFC has come back to Columbus, Ohio. And Francis Ngannou's in the main event there. I think what we'll see is if Ngannou wins that one, it could be possible rematch. I really don't believe Daniel Cormier wants to fight again. I just, from how successful he is as a broadcaster and announcer, from the lack of noise he really makes, he doesn't really make a lot of noise to pump up fights. He's a respectful guy, but he does know how to talk. And for him not to post anything on social media, make any videos, or talk any trash right now, tells me that he really doesn't want to fight. He's 42 years old, I think. He's already been a two-weight champion. He's had a great career. So I wouldn't be surprised we have Ngannou versus Curtis Blades interim title fight real soon, especially if Stipe decides to get the surgery that he needs. And I tell you what, it'd be a hell of a fight because Curtis Blades, he's a great wrestler, and now he's showing knockout power. That's going to be a hell of a way to go. All right, so that's basically recapping the weekend. let's go ahead and check out what scores we have tonight. What do we have on tap? Come on now. Top events. Tonight we got the Rockets Jazz. Utah's a 14-point favorite in this one against the 28-17 Rockets with James Harden and Russell Westbrook. What does that tell you? What does that tell you right now? The Utah Jazz with Donovan Mitchell, who's not a superstar, maybe top 10. I don't even think a lot of people have him in top 10. 32-13 on the season. They're a 14-point favorite at home against the Rockets with James Harden and Russell Westbrook. Come on. Get them somebody good. Get them a star. If they had a Steph Curry, if they had a Kevin Durant, they had anybody in the top 10 or top 5. I mean, top 5 guaranteed. But top 10 player, come on now. Like I said, trade Conley, trade, who did I say? Perkins or whatever. Trade them and get Trae Young, and you've got yourself a new point guard that's young, that's talented, that has a tremendous upside, that can learn quick from Conley or from Mitchell, and we have something. So I'm gonna take Utah tonight. Less than 14. I think the Houston Rockets cover, but I'll take Utah tonight. Other NBA action, we got the Cavaliers taking on the Pistons. Heat versus Magic, Thunder versus Mavericks. Spurs take on the Bulls, and the Timberwolves taking on the Kings tonight. A lot of these teams are below 500, so not a lot of great action. NCAA men's, you got UNC and NC State. And Kansas taking on Oklahoma State. Kansas, 7.5-point favorite. I think Oklahoma State makes it close, but Kansas finds a way to get it done. NHL action. Capitals versus Canadians. Devils taking on the Senators. Maple Leafs taking on the Predators. Lightning and the Stars go at it. Blues and the Canucks. And the Ducks take on the Sharks. And that wraps up all the scores coming up tonight. And I am tapped out. Not much else to say. Kind of rushed to get this show in. Got a lot of stuff going on. Personal life, getting healthier, getting more confident. Just got to work on getting this thing going and, get some commitment going and consistency going on this podcast, making it better every single time. I know I got a long way to go, but you got to start somewhere, and there's no place to go with up. I'm on the bottom here. I'm doing a free podcast on YouTube. Average equipment, crappy equipment, and but I'm doing the best I can. That's all you can do, right? So we'll come back on Friday. I'll have some more information. I think I'm going to go over NHL standings, NBA standings, give predictions on the next upcoming UFC pay-per-view, which I believe is Jones versus Reyes for the light heavyweight championship. That should be a good one. And top 25 action in college basketball. It's going to be a big Saturday. Can't wait for it. Got a country concert to go to on Friday. So that means I'm going to have to do this podcast probably on Saturday. So expect Saturday morning, 10 and 11, have this thing uploaded. Maybe Sunday. But definitely going to record this weekend. Like I said, just got to commit to it and keep on trucking, So thanks for tuning in, guys and girls. And I will catch you sometime this weekend, players.